If you've spent any time in the spiritual or self-help world, then you know that there are conflicting messages around loving yourself as you are. On one side, people say to love yourself just as you are, that you're perfect and that you don't need to change for anybody. And on the other side, you have people that say that you need to grow, you need to evolve, and that you do need to change. So which one is it? Are we supposed to accept ourselves just as we are, or are we supposed to grow, level up, do the work? When we try to change from a place of I am broken and I need to fix myself, we end up not feeling very good about ourselves. We fail to see our magic. But when we try to accept everything about ourselves without ever growing or evolving, it can feel like we are bypassing or making excuses for our behaviors that are actually hurting us and the people around us. If you've spent any time in the spiritual or self-help world, then you know that there are conflicting messages around loving yourself as you are. On one side, people say to love yourself just as you are, that you're perfect and that you don't need to change for anybody. And on the other side, you have people that say that you need to grow, you need to evolve, and that you do need to change. So which one is it? Are we supposed to accept ourselves just as we are, or are we supposed to grow, level up, do the work? Both are true, and I'm going to be breaking them down in today's video. When we try to change from a place of I am broken and I need to fix myself, we end up not feeling very good about ourselves. We fail to see our magic. But when we try to accept everything about ourselves without ever growing or evolving, it can feel like we are bypassing or making excuses for our behaviors that are actually hurting us and the people around us. Hopefully by the end of this video, you will understand how both can be true at the same time and how balance between the two is the key to real and lasting change. When you were born, you came into this world as pure consciousness, pure awareness. You were just simply being. Neuroscience tells us that infants don't have a developed sense of self yet. They just exist. And I talked about this in my episode titled How to Remember Your Inherent Worth. And if you missed that, you can find that in my playlist. Babies don't question their worth or perform to earn love. They don't question if they're good enough, if people like them. They don't need to earn love or approval. We just love them just for who they are. They just exist. This pure, innocent essence is who you are at your core. Between the ages of 0 and 7, children are in a theta brainwave state, which is the same state that people are in when they are hypnotized. So between the ages of 0 to 7, children are highly suggestible, and they absorb everything around them as truth and as facts. They are taught things about the world around them, and they don't ever question them, or they might question them. They might ask why, but they don't have the logic or critical thinking skills to truly understand what they are being told. I go into this a little deeper in last week's episode, where I talk about how our beliefs are formed, why we don't believe in ourselves, and what we can do moving forward. And then that led into this week's video, where we are going to be talking about how we can be loving on ourselves as we work to change. But if you missed that video, make sure to go back and watch that one, because it will help lay the foundation for this video. But between the ages of 0 to 7 is a period where we start to form our ego. This is what psychologists call our conditioned self. The ego isn't bad or wrong. It's what we need to function in this world. It's what we need to be able to set boundaries and navigate all of reality. And so all of these things that we are learning, all of the things that we're being taught about our environment and the world around us, all of the beliefs about ourselves, they are all forming our ego, our conditioned self. And all of these things that you are learning about yourself and the world around you, they were taught to you by your parents and your caregivers. And all of these beliefs and all of these things that we are taking in as truth are forming our conditioned self. So everything that we were taught in childhood formed who we are today, and our beliefs about ourselves influence how we behave as adults. For example, if you learned that expressing your emotions wasn't safe, now as an adult, you suppress your emotions. If you learned that you had to perform or achieve to earn love, you learned that you needed to be perfect. And so now you strive for perfectionism in all areas of your life. If you were told that you were too much, you learned to play it safe and stay small. So you shrunk yourself to fit in and be accepted, and that's keeping you from being seen today. From a neuroscience perspective, each of these learned behavior is there because of the neural pathway that was formed. And every time you suppress your emotion, that pathway gets stronger. Every time you people please to feel safe, that pathway gets stronger. And over time, these pathways become so well worn that they become our automatic behaviors. It becomes our unconscious program that is always running in the background, influencing all of our behaviors. All of these behaviors are what you learned to do as a child to survive. Your essence, your pure and innocent being that you were when you were born is still there inside of you. It just got covered up. So when we are talking about loving yourself exactly as you are, you have to remember that there are two parts of you. Well, there's more parts if you're into internal family systems, but for the sake of this video here today, we're just going to talk about the two parts, your pure innocent being and your conditioned self. So loving and accepting yourself means reconnecting to and recognizing your pure innocent essence, the part of you that has always been perfect and whole. This part doesn't need to change because it can't change. It's the truth of who you are. Your conditioned self is all of the coping mechanisms, the beliefs and the behaviors that you have learned along the way. This part can change, and it needs to, because this is the part that is causing all of your suffering. So when we say love yourselves as you are, that doesn't mean you should never change or work on yourself. We are saying love your essence, your core being, what I call your inner child, unconditionally, and it needs no improvement. And also have compassion for your conditioned self as you work on releasing what was never yours to begin with. Because these beliefs and these behaviors are no longer serving you. They're keeping you stuck. They're keeping you from stepping into your fullest potential and being the true creator of your life. These behaviors once kept you alive, but now they are hurting you and the people that you love. Maybe you explode in rage over small things, and afterwards you hate yourself for it. You get that sick feeling in your stomach after a big fight with somebody, and you're filled with so much guilt and shame, and you feel like you just want to curl up and die inside. Maybe you push people away who try to love you, and you sabotage relationships right when the other person tries to get close to you because you don't feel safe. Love is scary, and then later you realize just how important that person was to you, but it's too late. Maybe you cheat on your partner to maintain a sense of control in the relationship, and this might be because you feel powerless and it's your way of gaining power back. Maybe you turn to substances, food, shopping, gambling, or any other addiction to numb these feelings that you can't handle, or because you're trying to silence your inner critic. Maybe you distract yourself all day long on your phone scrolling social media because you don't want to face these feelings, these thoughts. Maybe you shut down and run away from anything that is challenging. Maybe you lie or manipulate to avoid conflict or rejection. Maybe you're controlling to the point where you damage all of your relationship because you're trying to micromanage every single thing in the relationship. Maybe you harm yourself when your emotional pain becomes unbearable. Maybe you people please and struggle to set boundaries and find yourself always going along with whatever everyone else wants to, or caving into demands that you don't want to do. These are all the behaviors that we are most ashamed of, the ones that we hide, the ones that keep us up at 3 a.m., the ones that make our chest feel tight and makes it so we feel like we can't breathe, the ones we promise to ourselves that we'll never do again, only to find ourselves repeating the same behavior the very next day, which only causes more shame, which will only make sure the behavior continues. We eventually will feel like there is something fundamentally wrong with us, that we are permanently broken, and that there's nothing that we can do to change. But all of these behaviors do not mean that you are broken. They do not mean that you are bad. They are instead evidence that you have survived. Your nervous system learned all of these behaviors to keep you alive. If you grew up in a home where expressing emotions wasn't safe, maybe you were punished, or you were mocked, or you were simply ignored whenever you cried. Maybe a parent overreacted every time you got upset. For example, maybe you went to a parent crying, you were upset about something, and instead of comforting you, they told you to stop crying or they were going to give you something to cry about. Or maybe they simply walked away because they couldn't regulate their own body, and so they didn't know how to help you manage your own emotions, and you were left as a child all alone, sobbing and unable to handle these big feelings inside of your little body, and no one was there to help you. And so you learned that emotions are dangerous. And you learned that you needed to shut down your emotions to stay safe. And so now as an adult, you might struggle to connect emotionally with a partner. You might have trouble even knowing what you feel because you don't feel safe enough to even access any of your emotions. And you might even feel numb or dead inside. If you grew up in a home where love was inconsistent, sometimes you got love and affection and attention, and sometimes you were ignored or rejected, you learned that love can't be trusted. So you learned that you needed to control love or push love away because it just was not safe. You needed to either control people or keep them at arm's length to prevent them from hurting you. And so now as an adult, you're pushing away the people that love you the most, or you're controlling them and ruining your relationships. If you grew up in a home where anger was not allowed to be expressed, or it was not expressed in a safe way, you either learned that you had to suppress your anger, or you saw your parents or caregivers give in to their rage and you witnessed violence. So you might have learned that anger is dangerous and I need to suppress it completely. So now you shut down, or you people please, or you push people away to keep from hurting them with your anger, or you overreact and find yourself acting in rage the same way that your parents did. These are all your nervous system's attempt to keep you alive. And this is especially true if you struggle with addiction. If you struggle with addiction, whether that's substances, food, shopping, sex, screens, video games, work, gambling, whatever it is because your nervous system is so dysregulated from all of the stress or the pain or the trauma that you have been carrying around your whole life, and your system doesn't know how to process or handle it all. You probably grew up in a home where you were not taught healthy ways to regulate your emotions, or you grew up in an environment that was so overwhelming that you did not know how to process it and you couldn't handle it. And so everything got shoved inside. And then you found a substance or a behavior that made you feel good on the inside, something that silenced your inner critic, something that made you feel alive and calm and at peace, and for the first time in your entire life. And you said, yes, this is it. This is what we need to do. And the addiction began. So addiction isn't proof that you are broken or that something is wrong with you. It simply means that your nervous system found a way to regulate itself when you weren't able to. Your nervous system was just trying to keep you alive. The same is true for self-harm. If you cut or burn or hurt yourself, it's because the emotional pain is so overwhelming that physical pain feels like a relief for you. It's something that you can control. Or it's because you feel so numb and dead on the inside that physical pain reminds you that you are alive. It allows you to feel something. All of these behaviors are not good and they're not healthy, but they are a survival mechanism that your nervous system learned to stay alive. But these behaviors are hurting you and your relationships. They are causing problems in your life. I really have struggled with all of these, except for gambling and self-harm. I have had so many addictions and negative behaviors in my lifetime. I have hurt so many people, including my children. My addictions were so bad that I had DHS involved. Being vulnerable here with you, not easy. I did what I needed to do to keep my children, but they still saw me at my worst. When they needed a mother that could protect them and teach them how to be an adult, I was struggling, and they had to witness that. I didn't know how to regulate myself, so I turned to the things that made me feel better in the moment, the things that kept me going, that kept me alive. But unfortunately, that did hurt my children. The guilt and the shame used to consume me, and it still can sometimes. I used to be filled with so much shame that I hated myself, but that only kept me stuck in the same behaviors that I was trying to get rid of. I didn't understand why I couldn't be better, why I couldn't be the mom that I wanted to be, that they deserved. I didn't understand why I wasn't normal like everyone else. As a child, when something traumatic happens, whether that's big T trauma or little t trauma, you learned how to cope in that moment. And these coping mechanisms became your behavior, and they became behaviors that you repeated every time something reminded you of this old wound. Every time you were triggered or had big emotions, whatever it was that you couldn't process or handle, these behaviors became the ones that you returned to and repeated over and over. And so over time, they became automatic, unconscious behaviors. As an adult, you will have the same responses to something in the external that reminds you of your original wound as you did as a child. Maybe that's binge eating or running away or shouting out in anger. We aren't choosing these behaviors and these responses consciously. It's all happening inside our nervous system, which is outside of our conscious awareness. This is why we can know a behavior is harmful and still do it. It's because it's not coming from your rational brain. It's coming from your survival brain. It's because of the neural pathways that you formed in childhood. And so when you can truly understand that your bad behaviors are actually just old survival mechanisms, you can release all of your guilt and shame and begin to have compassion for yourself. You were always doing the best that you could in the moment. You were always doing the best that you could knowing what you knew. You were always just trying to survive, to find a sense of peace and calm in the moment. You were trying to regulate yourself. Shame keeps you stuck because it activates your threat response. And this only makes change harder. Shame feels like a weight on your chest, like you can't breathe, like you just want to disappear from the world. Shame activates your fight, flight, or freeze mode response, which shuts down your prefrontal cortex. And when your prefrontal cortex is shut down, your reasoning, your logic, your planning, your problem solving, all of your executive functions are now out the window. You don't have access to them. Compassion creates a felt sense of safety in your nervous system, and you feel safe enough to change. Your prefrontal cortex stays online and you retain access to all of your executive functions. You have your rational thinking, your planning, you can solve problems. When your prefrontal cortex is online, you also have access to creativity and curiosity. And you actually have the ability to learn and integrate what you are learning. Your body also releases oxytocin when you're in that parasympathetic nervous system state where you feel safe and calm. And this is that bonding hormone, as we all know, which is only going to create an even bigger sense of safety and connection. And so you feel safe enough to change because you're not in survival mode. Your survival is not at risk. So you can self-reflect and work on yourself. We can't shame ourselves into doing better. Trust me, I've tried. And I was just like, I know what I need to be doing. I know I need to do better. I don't know how to. I don't know why I'm not. I felt stuck. I felt like I was trapped and I was never going to be able to be a better person. And so I hated myself. I looked in the mirror and told myself things like, you're disgusting. You're a terrible mother. No one's gonna love you. The people in your life are better off without you. I wanted to be better with every fiber of my being, but I didn't know how to. I didn't know how to stop my behaviors. And it's because I didn't realize that they were coping mechanisms that my nervous system learned and was using to keep me alive. And so it was not going to let them go easily. We can force ourselves to change through sheer willpower, but eventually we are going to go back to the old behaviors. And it's because we never truly learned to integrate and embody the new beliefs, the new behaviors. And that's because we were in survival mode when we were trying to force ourselves. And so our nervous systems didn't feel safe enough to relax and let the new belief and behavior in. We might last 30 days, we might last 90 days, we might last 6 months, depending on how strong your willpower is, but eventually you will default to the old behavior. Something stressful is going to happen and something is going to trigger that old wound, and you will find yourself right back at the beginning, doing the same behaviors, only now you're filled with more guilt and shame because you failed. I tried so hard to force myself to change. I tried to have accountability partners. I even set up rewards for myself, and I was never successful. And it was only when I started tending to the wound and stopped throwing a Band-Aid over the wound that the changes were able to last, where my behaviors began to change. I truly changed from the inside out. If you saw me just a few years ago to who I am today, night and day, complete difference, unrecognizable. Having compassion for these behaviors does not mean just accepting them and never changing and always having excuses for ourselves or telling people, this is just how I am, you just need to accept it. Having compassion is about understanding why these behaviors were there in the first place. Let's say that you had a friend that struggled with uncontrollable rage, and you knew that they grew up in a home with domestic violence. You would have compassion for them, but you would also want them to change, right? Because you see that it's hurting themselves and the people that they love. And at the same time, you would see their innocence. You still love them. The compassion does not excuse the behavior. It's what lays the foundation for actually being able to heal the anger. And the same is true for you. You can hold both truths at once. This behavior that you have now as an adult makes sense given what you experienced as a child. And this behavior is also harming you now. It's no longer serving you. Connecting to the innocent child that did not deserve to have this behavior done towards them or modeled for them can help you to be more loving and kind to yourself. That is what helped me the most in my life. Because when you love yourself, you commit to working on yourself, and then you will actually make the changes necessary because you love yourself enough to want to be your best, to reach your fullest potential. And you can't get there with these limiting, harmful behaviors. These self-sabotaging behaviors are keeping you stuck. I saw this somewhere and it resonated a lot with me. And it was basically the person saying, I'm committed to giving the little me the best life that they didn't ever stand a chance to live. And so I'm committed to giving little Brenda the best life, the most amazing life, the life that she did not stand a chance to live. And I can't do that if I don't work on myself. If I don't change my behaviors that are sabotaging my relationships, my health, my work, my family, my finances, my peace, and my joy, all of these behaviors are influencing every area of my life. I actually have a future series planned where I'm actually going to break down childhood wounds and show you exactly how they show up as an adult and how we can heal and work on each one individually. So make sure to like, subscribe, or follow so you don't miss out on that future series. But your inner child needs to know that they are unconditionally loved and accepted, not because they're perfect, but because they exist. Your worth is inherent, and your inner child needs you, a loving, caring adult who will guide them, set loving boundaries, and teach them new ways of coping so they can heal and grow and level up and step into who they are meant to be. You don't want to look at your inner child and reject them or shame them. You don't want to look at this part of yourself and say, this is bad, I need to get rid of it. You also don't bypass and say, everything's fine. I'm already perfect as I am, there's nothing I need to work on, and people just need to accept me as I am. You instead say, I see you. I see why you're here. You're welcome here. And I'm going to help you learn a new way of being because I love you. So how can we practice handling both truths at the same time? First, separate your essence from your behaviors. When you notice an unwanted behavior, say, this behavior is not who I am. This is something that I learned. I can choose a different behavior. So instead of, I'm such a terrible person for yelling at my kids, you say, that's a behavior I learned when I was overwhelmed as a child. Or it's a behavior that was modeled for me. It's not who I am at my core. And I can learn a different way to respond when I am stressed. Don't shame yourself for yelling at the child. Have compassion and understanding for why you yelled in the first place. The second thing you can do is to practice compassionate accountability. When you mess up or make a mistake or fall back into an old behavior, don't shame yourself. Talk to yourself the way that you would talk to someone that you love or to a child. The third thing that you can do is to connect to your body. When your nervous system feels safe and relaxed, that's when true lasting change can occur. You can meditate, do yoga, do breath work, or dance, anything that helps you connect to your body. The fourth thing you can do is to honor your timeline. You don't have to rush your growth. I know, I've tried. You're not behind. I used to think I was behind, and I tried rushing through my growth, and it only caused a lot more pain and confusion, and I wasn't actually integrating and embodying what I was learning. The fifth thing you can do is celebrate your progress. Celebrate yourself, because your essence, your true nature is already whole and perfect. Nothing can change that. Your personality, your patterns, and your behaviors are meant to change. You are meant to grow and evolve. You are meant to level up. You are not meant to stay the same. So here's your challenge for the week. I want you to practice talking to yourself this week like you would talk to a child. I know that sounds silly, but doing so helps you to be more compassionate and kind and loving to yourself. Because I guarantee some of the things you're telling yourself now, some of the thoughts running through your head, you would never, ever say to a child. So why are you saying it to yourself? Because you don't deserve to be told those things. Because the behaviors that are making you think these things, remember, they are learned. They're not your truth. They're not who you are. They're not your identity. You can change them. Thank you so much for watching this video or listening to this podcast today. I appreciate each and every one of you. If any of you ever need extra support, I offer one-on-one support. I only have a few spots available, but it can be really hard to see your own behaviors. And it's because you're so close to them and you just think that that's just who you are or how you are. You think that that's just a part of your personality and your character. And having an unbiased person that can see it and notice it and call you out on it can help provide an extra level of awareness. So then you can actually begin to make the changes that are necessary to help you step into your potential or to create more peace and joy and happiness in your life. I work with clients on getting to the root of the behaviors, going back to the childhood wounds and healing, like I said, from the inside out. If you are wanting some extra support with that, like I said, I have a few spots available. You can find the information down below in the show notes. I'm sending you so much love this week. I will see you in the next episode. Bye for now.